Hi, everybody. Welcome back and Happy New Year. It's 2023. It's going to be a good year. They get better every year, right? Tell me it'll get better. By the way, I managed to catch another cold, so if you think it's not me, it really is. I just sound differently. So, our neighbors here on the moon, for the handful of people that watch these videos, we're going to have to get used to the fact that there's such an incredible population up there. And it's all too hard to believe, isn't it? I mean, it's not even possible, right? I really don't know what to say about it. I've come to the conclusion that we're never going to get disclosure. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop trying. But I just don't think that they can walk back all the lies that they've had for the last, I'm going to say 75 years or more. This whole thing about the moon and being so populated and so close and us not knowing, there's more to it than it just being suppressed here on Earth. There's more to it than the governments not allowing these pictures out. There's just more to it, and it comes from them, right? If they wanted us to see them, we'd be seeing them, but they don't, do they? And so, how do they prevent us from seeing? This is the $1 million question. With all the telescopes and everything out there, it just seems like we should be able to see them, but we can't. And, I think somebody mentioned that, with this kind of population, we should be able to see some kind of activity on the surface. Well, first of all, I need to remind you that the pictures that we've been getting of these incredible craters come from the North and the South Pole, both of which we don't see from Earth. You need to take the time to look at these pictures, by the way. Just look closely. They're so packed with structures. It's a cool picture. But anyway, I lost my train of thought. Bottom line is they don't want us to know. And, somebody was saying that there must be more activity on the surface. I mean, with all this humanity, they have to be moving around and constructing in this kind of thing. And the thing I need to remind you, and I think I already did, is that this is on the pole, so we don't see the poles. We don't know what's going on there. Bruce Sees All is one of the guys that have seen a lot of activity on the surface. He sees UFOs daily, but that's not the pole that we're talking about. And I've looked into the craters in places other than the poles, and they don't have this type of construction at all, at least with what I can get out of the Worldwide Telescope. The Worldwide Telescope is giving us amazing things on the North and South Pole and the dark craters, but other than that, not very much. So, I was thinking, we talk a lot about how is it possible, what do they do for food, waste, all of the infrastructure questions. And, there's been discussion in the past about, quite a bit of discussion and some really great cases made for the moon being hollow. And you know what? I think it is. That would make so much more sense that, whatever's on the inside, this is where they could be manufacturing food. This is where the waste could go to be recycled. People also live in there too. There's a whole vast area on the inside, who knows how many square miles, that could be utilized. And who knows? I mean, maybe every structure that we see on the surface, whether in the craters or otherwise, can access the inside of the moon from the basements. We'll call them a basement, okay? So that would make a lot of sense. There could be all sorts of ways to get around on the inside of the moon, ways to travel, however they do that. And everything that we're missing that we don't see on the outside could very well be going on the inside. And I think it's really likely. A planet or a rock or whatever doesn't ring like a bell. You know the story of the spacecraft they crashed into the moon back in the 60s or 70s, and they said it rang like a bell. Well, a rock doesn't ring like a bell. On the other hand, I find it hard to believe they could actually crash something into the moon, considering what we've seen on this channel on the outside surface, not in the poles, but the rest of it. So I think there's just a really good chance that the inside of the moon is heavily utilized to support everything on the outside and whatever's on the inside as well. It's a lot of space there. Now this picture today is one crater and just a small piece of the inside of this crater, not the whole thing. And in this one small piece, there are so many, I would have to say hundreds of thousands, thousands and thousands and thousands of buildings. So imagine, you can't imagine, there's so many people living there that it flabbergasts me. And the fact that there are so many people living there, I mean, it's hard enough to imagine 10 people living there. But the numbers are far beyond what we can fathom. And yet it's all invisible to us. I hope someday that the word gets out that these pictures like this can be seen more than 50 or 60 or 100 times on YouTube, according to YouTube, because it's so important. We get all caught up in all this bullshit going on down here on Earth. I mean, really, you name it, politics, world health, hunger, anything you can think of. We're just all caught up in all this stuff going on here, when really the most important thing in our lives, in my life and in your life, is what's on the moon. If we knew, or if we could find out, if they would disclose this to us, it would be a new era for mankind. But until that happens, and I don't see it happening, but until it does, all we have are just a bunch of pictures. These bars are so complicated. We've talked a little bit about how these are put together. And at the end of every bar is a cluster of buildings, very tightly clustered, that make up the ends of the bars. And if you see these buildings over and above the height of the bar, that just means it's not filled in yet. So these bars are in the middle of construction and probably never stop. Well, they don't. We have seen craters in past videos that are completely covered over with bars. And I think that's the ultimate goal in every one of these craters, is for them to completely cover the bottom with these bars, and then they can start stacking up. And we've seen them stacked up. We know that they stack up pretty high. So it just goes on and on and on. The construction never ends. And there's another killer question, and that's especially for the moon. I mean, really? So we've said frequently, where do the building materials come from? Well, if the moon is hollow and they're living in there and they've got everything they need in there, they're not mining rock or anything from the moon itself. So where the hell does that stuff come from? You know, do they have vessels out in the belt? You know, the asteroid belt. Are they manufacturing stuff there and then towing it back and bringing it in? Everything could come from some other place, and even water. You know. Who knows? Maybe they're out in the belt and they find a giant iceberg floating around out there. So, well, hey, let's bring that in and we'll warm it up and we'll have water. I mean, we used to do that with ice, right? Back in the day when we didn't have freezers to make ice, you know, they would grab icebergs and drag them in and start busting them up. So maybe that's how they get water. I assume they must have water, and so with that, and combined with everything else they have on the inside of that moon there, they have everything they need. I mean, really, this moon is an artificial object, so it's a spacecraft. You know, no matter how you want to look at it, this thing is a spacecraft. And it's in geosynchronous orbit here at Earth. And hopefully they'll never want to go to another planet, because if they pull away, then we've got serious trouble here on Earth. I don't think that'll happen, but who knows? So, you know, I got to say that many of these structures and these bars and the buildings in here look very similar to me. Compared to the pictures from Google Earth, where there's I can't think of his name right now, but he's showing us pictures of alien cities under the water, and there's quite a few of them. And the thing is, most of those are obfuscated. So, you know, I'm going to spell that word out for you one of these days, but basically means that these pictures, that means that it's obfuscation, means that it's being made so you cannot see what's there. So many of the lakes in different places around the world, the lakes are obfuscated, and a couple of places were not. Herbert Klein is his name. And I'll put a link in the description of his YouTube channel. In particular, what I found interesting that he does is this Google Earth thing and finding the alien cities under the water. I mean, he's got some beautifully clear pictures, and you know, just like some of the things from Mars. You know, when you're looking at vessels and you know, aircraft and whatever, you know, you can't mistake that stuff for anything. You can't call it pixels or whatever you want to call it. It is what it is, and that's what it is with Herbert Klein in these pictures from Google Earth. You can't mistake them for what they are, and they're there for everyone to see. And that's a whole nother subject right there that really drives me crazy. Talking to Ken Johnston from NASA, formerly of NASA, that, you know, he and I concur. All this stuff, anything that you want to know about, anything you want to see, the pictures are available. The information is there for you to get, which is why I find it so strange that there's all this deception, and yet this information is there for people who want to look for it. very, it's quite a conundrum there. You know, so people just need to start looking. Just start looking. It's all there. You know, so if that's true, I mean, you know, like the colleges, for instance, how come they're not delving into this? Are they warned off? I mean, how do you warn off a college from looking at stuff and putting material out for people to see? I mean, I can see warning off a few professors and they die and then the new ones come in. Where they come and warn off everybody? I don't know. And it's just like this whole thing about Bigfoot. You know, somebody asked me, I mentioned that I believe in Bigfoot. And they said, oh, is there some new evidence? Well, there's tons of evidence. Tons of evidence. Including hundreds of samples of DNA. Some really great video. Some really crappy video, too. But there's plenty of it out there, and enough stories from people, first-hand accounts, that without a doubt, you know, it's out there. So if you want to find out about Bigfoot, you have to look for it, because they're not going to tell you. Whoever, our government, whoever's pulling the strings, you know, they just don't. I mean, why won't they let us know about Bigfoot? I mean, I don't understand what the problem is with that. And it looks like there's more than just Bigfoot out there, too. And I'm not going to get into that, but, you know, why does everything have to be a damn secret? You know, this stuff like this would give people hope, you know? There's more than hope here. Our future is here. But for some reason, we're being denied our future. I know for sure that, you know, people on the moon and the other places in the solar system probably aren't real excited about us joining the community, right? Because we're kind of nasty little creatures. You know, we kill each other a lot, and we kill anybody and everything. And you know, there's a lot of sins going on here on Earth, and I don't think they really want us up there as part of the community because we're too dangerous. So you know, I just would like everybody to start looking into this and sharing these videos and telling your friends. And get this stuff spread around, man. Apparently, you know, I can't do it alone. Ben and Pellom and I, we can't do it alone. We need help. And that would be for people to take this link from the Worldwide Telescope and share it with these other YouTubers. Some of these other YouTubers, you know, they might be a lot like scientists of the day. They think they know too much and will immediately try to dismiss it. But anyway, you need to spread this stuff around so we can get the word out. And who knows? I mean, maybe slowly over the next couple hundred years, if we can survive through it, that some of this information will start to be released. But right now, with the number of lies and deceptions going back a very long time, a lot farther than the 60s and 50s and 40s, this has been set up for a long time to deceive us. You know, these craters on the moon are very, very old, and they're not craters. So a long time ago, the decision was made to put up an illusion. Anyway, yeah, Mr. Conspiracy, I guess. I don't know. That's what we do, right? Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, share it. Share it with friends. Tell them what you're seeing. Thanks again. Bye-bye.